The prairie lay under a brittle winter night sky, each blade of grass etched in frost, glittering like shattered glass under the faint moonlight. The wind cut sharp and cold, carrying the scent of snow and pine. Clara, now 25, wrapped herself in a worn shawl, trudging slowly across the snow-crusted ground. Her boots crunched softly over the frozen grass with each deliberate step, echoing in the quiet night. Memories of her childhood rushed back, the wide fields, the laughter of a younger self, and the boy who had once been everything, Ethan. She had been only 10 when she wandered too far, lured by the beauty of the prairie and the thrill of exploration. Hours had passed before she realized she was lost among the tall grasses and whispering pines. By the time she returned, exhausted and tear-streaked, the warmth and comfort of her parents' cabin had felt like a distant dream. Life had carried her far from that small homestead, yet the memory of those nights, Ethan's laughter, the games they played, the quiet comfort of his presence, never left her. Now 15 years later, the stories of her old home tugged at her heart. When she learned that her parents' cabin still stood, weathered but intact, Clara felt an irresistible pull she could not ignore. She had to return, to trace the paths of her childhood, to see if the boy she had once adored was still there in some way. Each step through the frozen prairie brought a mixture of anticipation and fear. What if time had changed him? What if she no longer belonged in the world they had once shared? Ethan, now 35, had not forgotten her either. He had grown from a mischievous, adventurous boy into a man shaped by hard work, long winters, and the solitude of the prairie. Yet beneath the rugged exterior, the memories of Clara's small hand brushing his during their childhood games and her laughter echoing across the fields had never faded. He had often wondered if she had remembered him at all, if she had carried the same quiet affection that had always lingered in his own heart. As Clara neared the old cabin, the icy night wind tugged at her shawl, biting at her cheeks. She glimpsed a familiar figure in the yard. Ethan was chopping wood, broad shoulders moving with the rhythm of years of labor, the axe rising and falling in practiced arcs. The moonlight caught the frost on his hair, the lines on his weathered face, yet Clara recognized the softness in his eyes, the gentle strength that had always drawn her to him. For a heartbeat, time seemed to collapse. She froze, uncertain whether to run into his arms or hesitate, afraid that 15 years might have created a chasm too wide to cross. Ethan dropped the axe mid-swing, his eyes widening as recognition and disbelief mingled. Slowly, deliberately, he crossed the distance between them, each step measured by the years of longing and unanswered questions. Snow swirled around them, softening the harsh landscape, as if the world itself had paused for this reunion. When he finally reached her, he pulled her into his arms. The warmth of his body contrasted sharply with the biting wind, and Clara pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling the heartbeat she had never forgotten. Memories of childhood games, stolen glances, and quiet confessions returned in waves. "I have loved you all these years," Ethan whispered, voice rough from disuse, but steady with certainty. "I never let go." Clara's tears flowed freely, melting the years of absence, sorrow, and distance. "I never stopped believing in us," she murmured, her voice trembling with a mixture of relief and joy. She buried her face in his chest, finally releasing the emotions she had carried for more than a decade. The cold night felt less harsh, the moonlight gentler, and the prairie itself seemed to exhale around them. From the distant porch, the old ranch hand watched quietly, tipping his hat in respect. The horses stamped the frozen ground, sensing the sacredness of the moment. The wind, which had once seemed so cruel, now moved in soft currents, brushing the snow into sparkling patterns around them. In that quiet night, under the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Wild West, love had endured through absence, hardship, and time itself. Ethan rested his cheek against her hair, inhaling the faint scent of her shawl, worn but familiar. "I will never let you go," he whispered again, softer this time, more assured. Clara shivered against him, but felt safe, finally free to embrace the love that had patiently waited through every cold, lonely night, every shadowed doubt, every storm that life had thrown in their path. They stood in the snow-covered field, holding each other, the night surrounding them like a protective cloak. For the first time in years, the world felt whole again. Childhood love, tested by time and distance, had survived. Their hearts, once separated by fear and circumstance, now beat in unison. And in the frozen expanse of the prairie, under the pale winter night sky, they discovered not only each other, but the courage, tenderness, and enduring bond that only the truest love could bring.